So the Transformers movies. Either you like them, you hate them, or you fall somewhere in between just like me, in which you can recognize their flaws. There are many flaws, but are still able to get some enjoyment out of them. In this video, I'll be going over Dark of the Moon and covering the myriad of errors that can be found in this movie. Now granted, while Dark of the Moon is my favorite movie, no movie is perfect, and the Transformers movies are certainly not. I'll be going over continuity errors, geographical errors, astronomical errors, historical errors, and filming errors. The support for this series has been great. Part 1 and Part 2 have done ridiculously well, and unlike Part 1, Part 2 hasn't been copyrighted yet. So thank you all for supporting me. So far I guess we managed to keep the Paramount bots from copyright striking my last video, so if we can like do the same thing for this one, that'll be great. Also, as you guys might have noticed, I've been making little drawings for this series. For the first movie, I did face palming jazz, and for Revenge of the Fallen, I did war crime sideswipe. I'm gonna be making one for all of the movies in this series for the thumbnail, and I'll be turning those drawings into badges for YouTube membership. So if you guys wanna have face palming jazz, war crime sideswipe, or whatever I make for Ironhide, which I haven't done yet by the point of this recording, make sure to become a channel member today so get exclusive access to videos I haven't released yet, special looks into upcoming videos, and access to the sweet handmade quality badges right next to your name and emojis you can use in the comments down below. And also it helps the channel out and helps me feed Squeaker, so you know, that's a bonus. Now chances are that I probably won't be able to cover all errors because some are either too insignificant or some just fly by past me. So if I miss any errors, let me know in the comments down below. Well, you guys will do it anyways because that's what you guys been doing across all of these videos so far. And eventually, once I'm done covering the movies, I'll probably go back to the previous movies and make a part 2 for each episode, in which I covered the errors that I missed. But that's enough talking about future plans for now. Right now, we're looking at the past. It's time to talk about the good, the bad, and all the silly errors in between that might be hiding in the background. You might as well say they're errors in disguise. But anyways, let's begin. Now this is one that always takes me out of the movie because I just can't unsee, and I'm sure everyone here knows this one. When Sam is holding Brains in his hand after catching him spying on him and Carly, there is a short shot in which Sam is briefly seen in the background holding nothing in hand. Brains is missing. In the next shot, Brains is back in his hand, which first time seeing that in theater really took me out of the movie. Like I knew that was an error. How Michael Bay and the people making the CGI didn't catch that one is beyond me. Unless Brains got the power to magically turn invisible, just like Bumblebee magically got the power to reassemble together, I'm calling BS on this one. After killing Ironhide while Sentinel Prime is storming the nest base, Sentinel Prime, Ironhide, and Bumblebee are all missing in a short shot in which we see two cars projected by an explosion, supposed to be a result of one of Sentinel's gunshots. And you know, this is a running gag in this series so far where, you know, we get some scenes in which the Transformers are supposed to be there but magically disappear and reappear in between shots. Can someone go into the comments down below and make a list of the ongoing tropes in this series? That'd be great. But speaking of tropes, here's another one! Much like in Revenge of the Fallen, Ironhide sports his license plate from the first movie, 4PCI3A2 on his Red Mode chest. Now that's in itself not the error because Ironhide stays pretty consistent in between movies, but he doesn't have his license plate in vehicle mode. In some set photos he does have a license plate which is mostly black with a Nest logo on it, but the Red Mode doesn't have that at all. So this is another error. I don't know what's so hard about the license plates. In each one of these movies, there's always a problem with the license plates. But speaking of inconsistency between robot and vehicle mode, Bumblebee's updated Chevrolet Camaro no longer has the pinstripes bordering his black racing stripes, but the CGI robot model still has the pinstripes. So yeah, this definitely counts as an error. This series really did make me realize how inconsistent the vehicle and robot modes are. You know, it's mostly little details that no one will care about, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. Hey, it's like what I said in the beginning of this video, it's like poetry, it rhymes. This is not exactly an error, but something that I just thought about while I was watching the Optimus Prime get stuck in some cable scene, which is stupid in itself, but Optimus Prime has energon swords. Why doesn't he use them to free himself from the cables. And don't throw me the excuse that, oh, his hands are, covered with the guns, he can't really use that right now. Well, he takes the guns off, even better, he can cut himself off immediately. And don't give me the excuse that, oh, he does that, he's gonna fall, he's not gonna have enough time to fly back up. Just look at the momentum, speed, and strength of Optimus Prime's jet wing. Even if he started free falling, that should have enough strength to get Optimus Prime flying again without getting too close to the ground at all. It's not really a problem, just use your sword, damn it! What, do cable lives matter all of a sudden? Another error, and this is more of a astronomical error. When the Autobots return to the moon in the present day to retrieve Sentinel Prime, they pass by the Apollo 11 lunar model, otherwise known as LEM. The LEM consists of an upper part, known as the ascent stage, that houses the astronauts, and a lower part, the descent stage, that holds the braking rocket used to land on the moon. When leaving the moon, the ascent stage blasts off, leaving just the descent stage on the moon. In the film, the entire LEM is shown sitting on the moon, which is impossible since the astronauts came back to Earth. Which, I didn't know about this one, I had to go into moviemistakes.com to figure this one out, so thanks to the random person who made this comment. Soundwave has cable from his Mercedes alternate mode while he's in Africa, but his chest has only a blank grille. The Mercedes star is only added to his chest from the scene where he reveals himself to be Carly's car onward. This is most likely a deliberate choice to avoid spoiling the plot twist, but if you're really paying close attention to Soundwave's, robot mode and his car cable, it's not much of a surprise. Either way, this counts as an error. After Megatron pulls out his shotgun for the first time, he holsters it on the right side of his back. In the next scene, it is on his left side. I like to think that in between shots, he realized, wait, I put that on the wrong side, and just had to really quickly reposition the shotgun so he wouldn't look stupid in front of his Decepticons. It's a funny image. I need to make a drawing of that when I make Dark of the Moon Errors Part 2. In the highway battle scene with the Dreads, Crowbar smashes into some traffic signs and knocks them over. In the next shot, when the other two Dreads use them as rams, the angle at which the sign fell has changed. After Hatchet and Crankcase transform, the signs reverse into the original position. This is an error that I noticed the first time watching it. It kinda took me out of the action a bit, but not that much. But still, it's kind of annoying when you notice it. But we're not done with the highway battle just yet. Bumblebee enhances his front wheels to evade Hatchet, yet in the next scene he's fully in Stealth Force mode. I know that this scene is just Bumblebee going to his Stealth Force, but the way they cut from that to immediately being on Stealth Force is like, imagine Optimus Prime in the first movie, just arriving in front of Sand and he starts transforming and then immediately just cuts to Optimus Prime being already transformed. It looks weird, it looks awkward, and that's the best way to describe this scene. It's an error, don't tell me otherwise. When Hatchet is killed by Bumblebee and Dino, the last shot shows him being thrown onto a car, which uses recycled footage from one of Michael Bay's previous movies, I think it was The Island, with Dino's grappling hook cable still attached to Hatchet, which would imply that Dino is still in robot mode at this point. However, the very next shot shows Dino in the far background driving behind Bumblebee in vehicle mode. Again, the highway scene, it's cool, don't get me wrong. Some good action, some good special effects and CGI, but when you really look into it, there's so many weird choices in shots and scene editing. Kinda reminds me of that awful live action Mortal Kombat movie that came out a while ago. During Ironhide and Sideswipe's Mexican standoff with Crankcase and Crowbar, all combatants drop their firearms, but when Ironhide is speared, his guns are on his back again, and then they proceed to disappear in the next shots. Despite being captured by Soundwave in her evening gown, Carly is somehow able to change into more convenient clothes after arriving at Dylan's place, and has yet another outfit following the attack on Chicago the following day. Not only that, but she changes her earrings too. It's very weird how her wardrobe keeps on changing magically out of nowhere. When the Autobots are boarding the Santium, Simmons mentions that 9 Autobots are leaving, but in reality there's actually 11 Autobots. Optimus, Bumblebee, Ratchet, the Wreckers, Mirage, Wheeljack, Sideswipe, Wheelie and Brains. I guess much like the American military from last video, Simmons also doesn't know how to count. The Wreckers claim that they have been hiding inside a rocket booster that was jettisoned from the Santium before Starscream destroyed it. The boosters are only seen to be detached after Starscream destroys the ship, after it has barely taken off from the ground. As everyone tumbles through a lower floor of the building, one of the humans is shown to fall right through and out the other side with a collection of office furniture. But soon after that, he's magically back? with Epps' squad. So somehow he managed to not only beat Jesus' resurrection time of 3 days, but at the same time, he magically managed to fly all the way back into the falling building, span of 2 shots. But I'm sure no one noticed or cared that much, cause frankly, all humans look the same. Despite the Decepticons taking over Chicago and killing like a bazillion people, there seems to be a lot of people, I don't know, still alive? Continuing doing their daily lives? The skyscraper Epstein goes into to launch a rocket from still seems to have plenty of office workers in it when the driller attacks it. When Sam is being thrown around by Starscream, he crashes through a wall into a dry cleaning business, where a woman appears to be calmly hanging up a shirt. It's like the apocalypse never happened for these people. I found it funny how in the first movie my complaint was that people weren't reacting properly to giant robots, you know, destroying the city. In Revenge of the Fallen is that there was no one there to react to giant robots destroying Egypt. And we come full circle where we're back at the start where no one's noticing giant robots destroying the city. In the scene where Sam and Starscream are having the little fight, if you wanna call it that, Carly's shoes appear to mysteriously alternate several times between black stiletto heels and black ballet flats, in between shots during the climactic action sequence. This is most noticeable during the collapsing building sequence, as well as the scene in which Carly speaks to Megatron. If you pay close attention to her shoes change so often, like once you see it you can't unsee it, and I wish I could unsee it because a lot of like those scenes with her, it gets so frustrated. Just, it's the side woman, the side! God! When we see the Autobots entering Chicago, in the first overhead shot, we can see a small black camera cart in front of Bumblebee and Mirage. This is the filming equipment of the filming crew. Okay, let's go back to another Carly mistake, cause I really like picking on women in this episode. In the first scene with Carly coming up the stairs, she's wearing a white cap, but when the camera changes to the front view, she's suddenly holding a stuffed rabbit and the cap is gone. I know some of these details are so insignificant they're not even worth mentioning, but I have to. It's the point of this series to bring this stuff up. And I have the feeling that's not the last Carly related error we're gonna see on this video. When Barricade is kicking and shoving Wheeljack along before executing him, the voice that we hear is Soundwaves, instead of, you know, Barricade, who's supposed to be saying that piece of dialogue. Which my guess is that it's probably a remnant of the early concept in the movie, in which originally Mirage was supposed to get killed by Soundwave before that scene was cut for some reason. But hey, that's just a theory. A trans theory. While finding the Autobots at the end of the film, Sentinel Prime's cape disappears for a brief scene before reappearing on his back when the camera angle changes. I noticed that one too, and spoilers, the same thing repeats in some movies later down the line, primarily with Shatter in the Bumblebee movie, which honestly wouldn't be a big deal if it would just stay missing for the rest of the scenes, but the fact that it disappears and comes back is very distracting. When Sam and Dylan are fighting, the clock behind them changes, like it changes from this, to this, to this, and then it stays like this for the remaining of the shots. And here I thought we left the good old days of weird changes in time from 2007. I see they continue to haunt the franchise, 3 movies in. When Sam and Carly are reunited after the final battle, Carly's hands keep changing the position on every cut. Sometimes they're on Sam's neck and sometimes on his shoulders. Again, woman, decide what you wanna do. Decide how you wanna grab Sam, decide what kind of shoes you wanna wear, and freaking decide if you wanna wear a cap or not at the beginning of the movie. I don't wanna make the, women are so indecisive joke, but I mean, she's setting me up so much for it. Okay, this is one that everyone knows about, but Skits and Mudflap appear very briefly in the film. I know that they were, quote-unquote cut from the movie, but they are seen in the background. They're very clearly supposed to be the characters, and we never see them again. And yes, I know, Trans Theories made a video about it. I talked about it a long time ago, the comics cover, but I'm looking at the movie itself. Ignore everything, ignore all of that, ignore all the theories, explanation from the comics and stuff like that. We're just looking at the movie. Skits and Mudflap appear, then they disappear for the rest of the movie, and it's never explained in the movie. So do not tell me I'm wrong in the comments down below. I'm sorry to explode like that, but I need to bring that up because people keep telling me, oh, fire, actually, there's this theory, explain where this characters came from or what happened to them. No, listen, I'm looking at the movies. If the movies don't bring that up, then it doesn't count. It's an error, plain and simple. You can tell I'm losing my mind as I'm doing this. The humans at the Nest headquarters basically mentioned that 4 Autobots were captured by the Decepticons in Chicago. But in reality, there's actually 5 Autobots captured. Again, Americans can count. This is one that everyone knows about, but when Wheeljack is about to be executed, you can actually see Mirage's head in the background. It's a common method used for the movies to give the actors something to react to and give them an idea of where the robots are supposed to be and at what height. This could also be a leftover of the early draft of the film where Soundwave was actually supposed to mock Bumblebee with Dino's disembodied head before trying to execute him. Yeah, that was a thing that was supposed to happen, and it hadn't happened. That would have been pretty dramatic if you ask me. After Sam and Simmons visit the Russian cosmonauts, they are attacked in the interstate by the Dreads. During this part of the movie, they are in the Washington DC area. However, during the chase, a green interstate sign is passed by and knocked down that is from the I-8088 to Aurora. The interstate is in this Chicago area. Which is a geographical error, but you know, it's whatever, not everyone's gonna know this. When Bumblebee says goodbye to Sam, Bumblebee is leaning with his right arm to the construction. When the camera rotates, you can see that his hand is moving through the structure, making it a flaw in the CGI. Or maybe, this is Michael Bay, again, subtly implying that Bumblebee is secretly the most OP character in the movie. I mean, in Birds of the Fallen, he subtly implied that he always had his ability from TLK. Maybe, and just maybe, this is... Michael Bay sucks, okay? That's the joke! Also, Michael Bay, for watching this, I don't really mean that, I'm just trying to be funny. So, can we do a collab? Several references are made to objects being on the dark side of the moon. Title drop! The moon's rotation is locked into its orbit, meaning that the same side of the moon always faces towards the Earth. The dark side is simply the side facing away from the Earth, which doesn't always make it dark since it receives sunlight when the moon is between Earth and the sun. For plot purposes, the Ark has to have landed on the dark side of the moon, or else it will be visible using Earth's telescopes because it's so big. But when we see the Decepticons heading on the dark side of the moon crawl out of the dust, Earth is floating in the background, which will be impossible since Earth is not visible from the dark side of the moon. I know it's one of those very scientific errors that probably nobody cares about, but I care about. During the chase scene with the Dreads, Mirage has black rims in Ferrari mode. When they finish the chase, he now has chrome rims. Which, that's such a minute detail. I had to look at moviemistakes.com for that one. I did not notice that. It's it amazes me how people are able to catch some of these errors. You have to have a fine eye for some of these things. When Megatron's about to destroy Lincoln's stone throne, his shadow appears only in the shots where he's visible. But in the shot where only the throne is visible and Megatron's about to destroy it, his shadow is gone. Perhaps Megatron's a vampire. Hey, it would explain how he always comes back, just like Springtrap. In real life, Apollo 11 did not land on the far side of the moon. Tranquility Base is on the near side of the moon. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant is shown to be located inside of, or at least right next to, an abandoned city, and the human characters access it through nearby buildings. In reality, the power plant is situated on the outskirts of the city. Even worse, Alexei Boskot, I probably butchered that. No, I definitely butchered that. Explicitly says that the entrance leads through a school. Who builds a school right next to a nuclear power plant? Did they mistake the Russian government for Umbrella? Or do these movies take place in the Fallout universe where that's something that happens? The film depicts multiple skyscrapers in the background in many scenes set in Washington DC. But in real life, the city has no skyscrapers. Well, to quote what Michael Bay said in the previous Errors video, people in Taiwan will probably never know the difference. What does that have to do with the movie and people here in America? I don't know, but Michael Bay seems to think that that's reason enough to justify this. Let's go back to the scene where Optimus Prime gets stuck in some cable, since we all love that scene so much. He gets caught in wires below an under construction building. That building bears a striking resemblance to the China Central Television headquarters in Beijing, China. Far shot from Chicago, since construction for the CCTV building was finished in 2008, long before Dark of the Moon was even conceived. This appears to be an intentional instance of a cool building being inserted just for the sake of it. Yeah, now that the wiki mentions it, the two buildings do seem eerily similar. What's next? The Statue of Liberty outside Chicago? It wouldn't surprise me if for the next movie that Michael Bay does, he decides to insert the Eiffel Tower in the middle of Texas. I feel like Michael Bay is capable of doing something like that. This belongs to America now! The shot of the Apollo 11 capsule approaching the moon is missing the lunar module, which is then seen attached to the craft in the next shot. When the guy in the back seat gets out of Epps' car, he's wearing a baseball cap and a shirt, only to suddenly in the next shot be wearing full-on tactical gear instantly. When Cybertron is pulled into Earth's orbit, they show that it can be seen from the Earth's surface. Pretty much it covers the entire sky. However, in several scenes after that, the sky is shown in the background as being crystal clear. Like, Cybertron is literally right next to planet Earth. Every time you will look at the sky, you'll see Cybertron, not just the clear skies. In fact, I feel like the sky should be a little darker because they have a giant object covering some of the sunlight. But who cares about details, am I right? It's all about the explosions and the high heels. Let's go back to the scene where Megatron blasts off Abraham Lincoln. It was actually a CGI error here that was commented by one of my subscribers in the previous video. Megatron's foot is embedded into the stonework with one of the wheels. Only 3/4 are visible. So thanks for telling me that. Whoever you are, I'll try to find your comment. So, let me get this straight. You know when the Decepticon in that one ship tried to kill Sam and killed a bunch of humans when they were trying to infiltrate Chicago, and then he gets shot by Optimus Prime? Optimus shoots down the ship by destroying the right turbine, making it crash down and saving Sam. But later, Bumblebee uses it and flies it with no apparent damage. It's basically brand new. And don't say, oh, Ratchet probably fixed it. Yeah, the same Ratchet who was able to fix Bumblebee's voice, who was able to, like, you know, fix a bunch of other problems. I mean, to be fair, it was probably Wheeljack. Just before Optimus Prime arrives on the battlefield and has that very famous scene where he kills over like 10 Decepticons in less than 20 seconds, there is a shot of Sentinel Prime saying it's our world now, and he's looking out over that same street. When Sam comes out of cover to take a look at Cybertron, Sentinel is still on that building, but when Sam shouts, "Optimus!" Sentinel Prime is gone. Maybe Sentinel Prime has Brain's hidden ability to turn invisible. Maybe Sentinel Prime's magic. Maybe these movies are more and more flawed than we initially thought. After Optimus Prime gives his speech about freedom and killing your enemies mercilessly without any kind of compassion or giving them the chance to surrender, his gun disappears. Specifically when he says, "For today, in the name of freedom." We never heard him throw it away or see it lying around when Bumblebee transforms. Again, stuff just disappears here for whatever reason. It's magic. It's magic at this point. It's not science, it's magic. And let's stay with Optimus Prime for a bit longer. When he uses Shockwave's cannon to shoot down one of the pillars, the cupola, I think that's what's called, starts falling before the bullet hits the building. A very clear error in timing here. Geez, Dark of the Moon has so many more mistakes than I initially thought. This is crazy. And we still have plenty more to go, but this video is probably already long enough, so let's wrap it up. Let's find a Carly mistake or an Optimus mistake. During the highway chase scene, there are two out-of-sync animation sequences of the Decepticons in action. One in the front view with all the cars facing the camera. Crankcase on the right shoves the car sideways to the right. However, the car flies into the air a second later and in the opposite direction. 2. The scene cuts to the side view of the Decepticon and you see him motioning to pick up a car and begin to toss it in the air. However, when he does this, his hand is empty and the car just flies just below him. Maybe the Dreads know how to use the Force. And let's end this video off with a Carly mistake, as I've been feeling like beating up women this whole episode for some reason. In the scene where Sam and Carly are trying to get into the Autobot base, Carly's wearing a black jacket, but after Sam sees Bumblebee, she's wearing a brown one, and inside she has a black one on again. Woman, am I right? But yeah guys, those are all the errors that I could crank into this video. And there's more that I didn't mention because I couldn't fit in this video. There's some more geographical and astronomical errors and historical errors. But to be fair, they weren't as fun or as interesting as everything else I mentioned here, so I omitted them on purpose. I can only imagine how traumatizing and how long the last night is gonna be. I have nightmares of me recording the last night episode because I know how horrendously long that video is gonna be. But hey, as long as you guys watch and I get paid, I don't really care. But anyways guys, that's it for this video. Hopefully you'll enjoy. I'm tired, I'm gonna go sleep, play some Pokemon Legends Arceus, and then edit this video and make that Ironhide drawing. So plenty of work and stuff to do. This is the life of a YouTuber, guys. It's painful and suffering. It's cold every day. I can feel my bones. Yeah, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Stay safe, guys.